Hello, teachers, and welcome to our Facebook Live here on the British Council Teaching English Facebook page. My name is Karen Waterston, and today we are going to be talking about improvising your teaching. Well, what does that mean? To help us explore this topic and provide lots of practical tips, we are joined by Maria today. So let's meet Maria. Hi, Maria.
Hello. I'm already jumping in.
You are ready to go. Welcome, Maria. It's lovely to have you back with us again. Where are you at the moment?
Thank you so much for having me, of course. And I'm in Canada at the moment. Yeah, it's a little bit interesting weather in Toronto. No snow, guys. It's not cold, so it's very interesting situation.
Unexpected.
I know.
You were just saying I look more Canadian than you do.
But it's true.
Yeah. So, Maria, we're talking today about improvising your teaching, and you are somebody who embraces this in your teaching so much. Can you tell us, what does it mean, and why do you like this term, improvising your teaching?
Right. Of course. Maybe first a little bit tell about myself, because maybe
Sure.
not everyone knows, right, me and so on. So I'm a dogma teacher trainer, and author. And basically, emotional burnout led me to a radical change in my approach, led me to this improvisation. And after intensive training with Scott Thornbury, I embraced dogma ELT approach, and it was really helpful. I'm also an author of the book How to Reduce Your Time Preparing for Online Classes and Prevent Emotional Burnout. So I kind of try to help teachers with this over preparation problem, because this was my problem at that time, one of the problems, and that's what I wanted to address in my book. And also last year I created a course for teachers, From Burnout to Balance, and it consists of basically dogma ELT approach, of course, how to work with emergent language, how to improvise meaningfully, some practical cases, so we kind of really, hands-on experience, and also we'll look a little bit wider and like at some things that causes also our stress in terms of some some productivity moments, I would say. And we basically try to adopt a new mindset and habits on a daily basis to address, right, to change that situation, basically. So it's like mindful teaching and mindful productivity in one kind of holistic approach.
And reducing lesson preparation time.
Absolutely.
Tick,
Yes.
tick, tick, tick.
Well, hopefully.
Hopefully. You can find the links for Maria's book and program in the description of this video, and we will also post links at the end as well. So, Maria, you just mentioned there like a lot in a short space of time, reducing preparation time, which I am sure all teachers go, yes, please, I want to know how to do that.
Yeah.
And dogme. But let's go back to dogme just for a minute, because you know in your title you're a dogme teacher. What is dogme? What does it mean?
Right. Yeah. Well, it's basically a little bit another way of looking at teaching, and a little bit another perspective, and another way of being a teacher, even like on that level, I would say. And it was like fascinating for me when I found it out. Actually, I was doing that at some period of time, and then when I found out, oh my God, what I was doing, it was valid. It's great. So it's a communicative approach that basically based on work with the emergent language. It is materials light, so we still can use some materials, maybe even some course books or some, but we minimize that, and we maximize basically spending time with our students, and getting really in tune with them, and getting in touch with their lives, and integrate the language directly into their lives. So it's based on communication, responsive communication, and responding to the needs of the students, like immediate needs, their goals. And that's why I found that it was so effective. When I just like started, it just like blew my mind, to be honest. And
Wow.
I wanted just like to share something that really excited me. I got to know that Michelangelo's view of work, it was that you approach, for example, like, so you, like the statue, the sculpture is already in the stone, and the sculptor's work is to see it and release it, by getting rid of different, excessive materials. And I find this parallel very in tune, I would say, with this approach. So basically, we see learners, so they have already the lesson within them when they come to our class. And in this raw material of their language, they already have some language. They are not just like blank piece of paper or something, right? They have already their experiences, their feelings, their emotions, of course, goals, why they need English, right? And our job as teachers is to address that and turn that into a learning opportunity. And that's where I see that improvisation helps like a lot.
That's amazing. I love that analogy. Like the
Yeah.
statue is in the stone, and it's the sculptor's job to find and immerse, to bring out the statue, and it's our job as teachers to bring out the lesson from the students.
Exactly. Right?
Wow.
It's
So
another perspective,
right, it's
right?
like looking at it the other way round.
Exactly. It's
That,
already there. And your way is like just to uncover and to give maybe not too much, but like just some stimulus, and it will
yeah.
just go, right? So we need like to find that the right stimulus. And how to find that? We get to know our students, their like needs and interests, and it becomes really simple, I would say, kind of to find that stimulus that will just drive the whole lesson.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So I just wanted to say hi to everybody who's watching. So hi, teachers all over the world. This is so exciting. So we've got Caribou from Botswana, and we have from somebody's saying that there's no voice. I hope you can both hear us. I hope everyone can hear us okay. We've got
Okay.
Enyo from Brazil, and we've got Sudaka from India, Rim from Tunisia, Aeon from Philippines. Oh my goodness, all over the place. And we have
Amazing.
questions coming in, Maria, already.
Perfect.
So here's one from Shaima that is saying, I think it's sort of a clarification question. So Shaima is saying, can I say it's a type of learner-centered approach, what you're talking about?
Sure. Of course. Learner is the main resource for the class, right? And we just um, like dance, with the learner, basically. Yes, and respond to their needs. Of course, once again, dogmailty, we can really, it's so flexible. We can integrate it within any structure. It can be even like super, even rigid, even rigid syllabus. We still can improvise within that and make it really learner centered. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, what is the main point actually of education? Like, the learner is the main protagonist of the story, right? And our job just to find the way what really works for the learner, well, and for us as well. So it can be dogmailty. We can, I don't know, combine it with some other approaches. But yeah, if that's effective, if that's working, that's it.
That's right. And I think, as Atia says, student-centered classes,
Right.
which is,
Yes.
yes, which is what we're
Yes.
wanting, isn't
Of
it?
course. Of course.
The comments are flying by so quickly, and thank you very much to Sally in advance for helping us out there in the comments. I've missed a comment somewhere that somebody's bought your book a few weeks ago.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much.
And others saying how delighted they are to have you have you join us. So this is from Henda, who is also reiterating what you're talking about, Michelangelo's analogy reminded me of Plato's philosophy about nativism. Teaching is about eliciting and recalling what is already innate in learners.
Yes, yes. So they're not just like blank, as I said, blank piece of papers. They already have so much, and it's always interesting how students come and they say, oh, I'm like, my level of English is like super low, like even beginner. Like recently I've had like a student who is like 65 years old. He's a beginner, and he said, I want to start with ABCD, with the alphabet. I'm like, okay. But when we actually got it like into the lesson, he already had so much actually in the passive vocabulary. He heard some things. So it wasn't ABCD, you know? So he had already. So, and I would say the art of the teacher, right? To connect their knowledge, already pre-existing knowledge, and with the new knowledge, and always kind of give a little bit more, right? And once again, always keep in mind, and what is the goal of the student, right? What is the direction? Because if I lose that, because golden middle is also very essential. So it's like a dance of the structure and improvisation within our class, right? Because if it's too much freedom, we lose, like where we are going. It's like it becomes chaotic. It's not understandable for students. They become resentful. So it's not too, like, it's not good. If it is too structured, there is no room for, for breathing, for really responding. And for us as teachers, it's really exhausting. It's like really exhausting. I've been there. I don't want to go back.
That's where the burnout comes from. It's
Exactly.
exhausting.
And also all this over preparation because of this, I don't know, some different fears. We really want to provide the best education, the best quality for our students, right? We
Yes.
also have some financial side that we need to be mindful about. We don't want to lose our job. We want to do our best, right? But sometimes it can be like too much pressure, too much unnecessary pressure. So
Yes, and I'm sure teachers watching, exactly what Maria's talking about.
I've been there.
Yes, you definitely have. Here's there was just a comment I put up a little bit a few minutes ago. A teacher talking about digging out the magic from the learners, and this is one from Faten, who's saying,
Aw.
is it a kind of teaching that doesn't rely on textbooks but relies on conversations in the classroom? And if yes, can you give us an example, Maria, of what this is?
Right, right. Yes, absolutely. So, Fatan, hello. I just know this lovely person, this amazing teacher. Um, yes, that is correct. And I can give some example um, of a lesson that I had with teenagers, like a group of teenagers. It was um, so basically it was about appearance. It just like appeared from our conversations, and I understood that okay, they need actually to know more vocabulary and so on about appearance. And at some point, so like we did some things. So basically, I got to know what they already learned, so what they already know. Then I added a little bit of more, and I asked them to just during the lesson, okay, can you please share some photos of your best friend, or I don't know, some of your relatives, so basically they can describe that, right? So I always kind of try to connect it to like the real life of students. And even like one student who always wasn't really talkative, he he was like so passionate to talk about his little brother, so it was like so lovely. Once again, the thing that like I get this question from teachers when, for example, what if the student just answers like yes, no, not very talkative, and true in like introvert, right? It's also a moment in this kind of, yeah, and how to, so basically it helps also through this connection to like really connection to real life. And what also happened next was very interesting because I really really don't like when students don't turn on their cameras. I just like, it pisses me off.
In an online course.
Yeah,
Yes.
like during the class. But with this group of students, I understood, yeah, they are like frustrated. These teenagers, they are like, they were from Ukraine and so on. And I definitely didn't insist or something. So I was like encouraging sometimes, but no. They no. And then this idea just, so I had that limit, right, that I didn't like, and I wanted to do something about it. I didn't know what to do, right? So when we talked about this experience, it's okay, I connected to their like real life, and then I just got a very spontaneous idea. Okay, guys, you have never seen each other, right? And you just hear the voice. So can you please describe each other how you think you look like? As they did, and then we turned on our cameras, and they saw each other for the first time, and it was like, it was amazing. It also like
Wow.
fostered this emotional connection, and they were like,
Hmm.
I don't know, like so engaged and so, I don't know, like interested in what they were saying. And of course, that vocabulary that was new and there, of course it was more memorable for them because it was, some about emotions and everything. So this is, yeah, the
And
benefit.
also about themselves, yes, because it's imagination, but
Yeah.
they're there, and then revealing the camera on, going, oh, and then you can talk about, was it the same or different? And all
Yeah.
of that language that is emerging, that's where that emergent language
Yeah.
comes
Yeah.
from, right?
And it was still emerging as they were talking, and I was, of course, recasting, like help them to recast it, wrote down everything, right? So it was still going on, working with this emergent language. And that's, I would say, my maybe one of the ideas that I would like to suggest today, right? How
Mm-hmm.
to use this improvisation, because I'm pretty sure that all of us here who are listening, we are all using improvisation actually. So it's not something like for a selected few, it's like our natural ability. We are improvising all the time in our lives and so on, and even in our class to some extent, right?
So
And
you're
my,
saying it's something that we're it's not like a kind of fancy new theory that we have to learn how to do.
absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So I definitely would like kind of to kind of share this how to say perspective.
Great.
Uh yeah, I mean that's what we do and all the time. And maybe what if we can build on that what we are already doing, right? Even within some little exercise, yes, we're already asking students some maybe like spontaneous question, and we can expand on that a little bit, yeah, go a little bit further and notice an opportunity for this emergent language that comes up, and just like take it and put it and maybe a little bit work with it. And then if we would like, we can expand more. If we are not really still comfortable with that, it's okay, we can just go back to whatever, I don't know, the next task that we are doing, right? But my maybe like suggestion, right, kind of, what if just what if
What if?
yeah, yeah,
So you're saying, because it can sometimes feel a little bit terrifying
I know,
to put away the book
yeah,
or to put away the lesson plan and go, it's only me, and sort of, it's like exposed maybe a little bit. So you're saying, go, okay, what if, but don't worry, we can come back to the
yeah,
book just in case it
yeah.
feels a little bit scary out there.
Exactly, because that's what we do. I mean, I remember my feelings when I was, like moving away from, from this. It felt like it was my safety zone, right? And
Like
I'm
the walking
moving.
stick, yes.
Yeah, what if I don't know? I mean, what if I can't work with this emergent language? If what if I don't hear any, I don't know,
Yes.
like
What
what if
if there
my,
isn't any?
yeah, yeah. Or maybe
No,
there
there
is,
always is.
yeah, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, what if I don't hear like some mistakes or something, right? Like what
Or
to
you miss
do?
it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you're like a little bit stressed, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
that's why you basically like miss it. And like, oh, what if I'm like, I'm a non-native speaker? This is another thing, right? It's only for native speakers and experienced ones. Well, I have actually like a little story about like also analogy with music, because I'm a musician too. And in my like musical school, I remember I was always given only like the grammar of the language, like all the time, the classics and so on. And I was longing for some jazz, or some, I don't know, some other music. And they would say, no, until you like really learn, all this grammar and all this like basics, you're not allowed to. And I was constantly like forced, into that. And you know what happened to me? I came to a point when I hated music. I didn't want any jazz, I didn't want any classical music, nothing like that. I really needed some, you know, some breath, some freedom within that. And that's what I see, that sometimes, teachers can be, even like from the start, like too concentrated to make it like perfect, right? Too
Yeah.
structured. And what if
What if?
we just bring, more of this, like freedom, and this that it's okay, that it's valid, to work with this like emergent language. Once again, you decide to what extent you want. But what if? Because
What
during
if?
my CELTA, I wasn't really allowed to do that. For example, not really, like I wasn't allowed. We were not encouraged,
No.
because it's like too strict, I would say. And for me, I really wanted that.
Well, I'm learning Catalan at the moment, and
Mm-hmm.
I went to class this morning,
Mm-hmm.
and there was hardly any what if moments at all. We stuck,
Mm-hmm.
we went right through the plan, and there was no room for a personal story or bringing the
Mm.
outside in. And so what you're saying, would be so fascinating to me. And I think there's so many comments coming through. Lots and lots and lots of people saying how interesting this is, and thank you so much. This was
My
one of the
pleasure.
very early comments right at the very beginning. This is from Nadia. I hope you're still with us, Nadia. Improvising my teaching because we don't know or expect what will happen in each class situation, and how do we adopt it. So you're talking about improvisation and, what if, moving away from the course book a little bit, bringing the students' experiences into the classroom. And you're saying a lot of teachers do this already through those unexpected moments where we need to then go, uh-oh, let's think on our feet. Is that what improvisation is?
Yeah, of course. And we also really tune in with our students and we listen to them. That was, I would say, like one of the key moments for me, when I really, really started to listen to them and hear them. So there is no gap between like listen and hear them. And in this way, you can, of course, hear more of their interest, and you can really find that something like that stimulus that will, just like go in the right direction and will uncover all this that is supposed to be
Oh, yes.
uncovered. Yes.
Bring out the
Um,
lesson and the joy.
exactly. Yeah, because it was interesting when I asked students on, and students and teachers, okay, guys, what is the definition of successful lesson? That was a very interesting
Oh,
discussion.
so you
Yeah.
asked your students that?
I ask my students, I always ask my students like everything. And also teachers, like it was just a post on Facebook, and it was so interesting.
That's
No,
such a
like,
great question.
I know. I mean, what is a successful lesson? Like, really?
Let's ask now.
Yeah,
Teachers watching, what is?
yeah.
Do you mean, Maria, do you mean what does it look like? What does it feel like? What is the
But I
end
mean,
result?
everything.
All of
I mean,
it.
everything, of course. It's a holistic process, right? What
Yes.
is it? Isn't only about, I don't know, putting, you know, checks and
Yes. Filling
everything.
in the blanks.
Exactly. So,
We've got a few questions coming in, Maria. A couple of them are sort of connected. So this one is from Mohammed, so around dog meat improvisation. Is it workable at lower levels?
my
There's
favorite question.
is it? Oh, excellent. There's
Because,
another question.
yeah.
I don't know if it's the same. It was, let me just, here. How can we add real life events when using English as a second language with students are very young? So
Okay.
it's slightly different because
Yeah.
a lower level is not necessarily young, but I don't know if you can combine them at all.
Well,
Or
maybe
address
not
them
combining. Yeah, maybe like a little bit
separately.
separately. Um, I mean, when I said about beginners level, because it's like favorite question of teachers, And right now I'm doing like a real investigation, I would say, because I haven't had like beginner student for a while, And right now I'm like, okay, I'm like going in, and like seeing like what's really happening. It's definitely possible. Uh, I would say that it takes a little bit more, I would say, like skill. Because why I'm saying that. So, for example, I have this beginner student. He's like 65, and he actually enjoyed Dogme class, which was very interesting because people usually who are like elder, they like more structured, because and when we did that, and I also brought his like basically life, and he talked about his family. And of course, he didn't know like a lot of vocabulary and all the structures. I mean, everything is like, all the English just like in front of you, unknown for now, right? Oh, to some extent, right? So, what I find interesting that um, basically how we did it. So I asked him to tell about his family. He had, of course, some gaps in the vocabulary. I gave them to him. So I used some L1, and I kind of correct, like how to say, like filled those gaps. And then he produced again this text. Like, okay, so right now, so all this, like, this story, let's say, yes. So can you please produce for homework, add maybe like produce it, like write it down, maybe add some details and stuff. And the next like lesson, he was like already pretty, I don't know, like there was some sense of achievement. Oh my god, I can talk about my like family already to some
Wow.
extent. Yeah, so it was like, it was interesting. What is challenging that, of course, lots of things come up, right? Okay, he wants to talk about the past or something. So it's really important to kind of to go into one direction, not overwhelmed, to give some really small piece
Mm.
bite size. And sometimes when something doesn't emerge, you create a condition so it emerges, right? So I don't know, like I am an engineer and I would like him to know what is like how to ask a question, for example, right? And
Mhm.
okay, are you a doctor?
No.
Oh, yeah, no. Okay, I wanted him like and how to say no, right? Okay, I am uh, no, no. Yes, I'm not an engineer, or I'm not a
Okay.
doctor. So yeah, I was creating, these conditions, right? But sometimes, yeah, it's challenging not to fly away, it can be like for the teacher too overwhelming, right? Oh my God, so much stuff arises,
Right,
right?
especially at a lower level when the student doesn't have, like me with my Catalan, I don't have all the words, and I get overwhelmed if
Yeah,
I get too many,
yeah.
sentence structures or too much grammar at the same time.
Yeah, so this bite size, and it's basically for you kind of to a little bit like stop and like, okay,
Hmm.
let's take a look. Okay, let's take a look. There is no rush,
There's no
and
rush.
exactly, because I was
Wow.
like, oh my God, I was like, so I had even like indigestion during my courses, like real literally, like physically,
Hmm.
indigestion, because it was like next, and all this pouring of this material. It was like, oh
Yes,
my God,
it's
oh my
too
God.
much.
I mean, why do we need to rush? It's better some quality, some like little things, and it's like play with them around, and it can open up some more. So kind of give space for students.
Because I think I mean, the rushing comes from this sort of pressure of having to finish the book or
Oh
do
yeah.
all the pages,
Oh
but
yeah.
that's not necessarily, yes. I'm just going to bring up a few comments now. Where's this one? This is from Andrea, who's saying it really does spice up the class. Improvisation has built my students' confidence. Like you were saying with your student, coming back and being able to talk about his work a little bit just after a short amount of time.
Yeah.
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 Wow.
Some like since, and of course it builds the confidence, and especially, for example, for beginner students, I think it's especially hard, and when they start, I mean, they're like so professional in their work. I mean, they're like bosses and everything. And then they come and they learn this language as a beginner. And it's like, hey, I is, and they feel not good, right? I mean,
It's a
it's,
whole nother conversation we're going to have on one of our Friday lives, Marcus and I, around
oh,
early level students being not able to talk about anything apart from I am a student and I live in this place.
exactly. And when you give a little bit of this, just like some little text, right, and kind of
Mhm.
work with that, and they already, oh my God, and I can already do it, So it's like,
So motivating, and that then brings more energy
yeah,
into the classroom.
yeah,
This is
spices up as,
spices up.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah, I love that.
Ahmed is saying that it's providing the opportunity for the students to speak
Yes, yes.
as
We
well.
actually start with that. We have a conversation. We start with that. So it's like the whole way around. Because I remember, like, we were, for example, if like following the course books, once again, you still can use some of these moments. It's just like how you use the course book. That's, yeah, how much you rely on the course books. That's the question, right?
That's a good, yes, that's a
Right?
good question.
It's not like I'm like, I don't know, we are ditching all the course books, we burn them or something. No, no, we have respect for them. I mean, people like amazing, did like amazing job, really. So it's like how we use, how we implement all those things. And basically in DocMe, we start with speaking. Yeah, it's based on
Uh-huh.
conversation. It's based on conversation. And there are gaps in the knowledge of the students and
Hmm.
we fill out those gaps. It's not also, it can be challenging because a lot of things can come up, so it's like up to me also to prioritize. It's up to me to really immerse myself in the language and really learn my skill, my craft, and keep I don't know, like advancing my language itself, right? It just never stops, but it's, yeah, it's like a big work.
We've got a question here from Ngo Hyun Huang, who is asking, how can we use the dog me approach well if each student has a different level? So I guess mixed ability.
Mhm.
Is it possible?
Yeah,
Can you
sure.
give any examples?
I can
How?
give an Yeah, I
Yeah.
can give an example already by my colleague, Catherine Angus. She's like amazing document teacher also. And she did a class with mixed level group. And she basically, okay, guys, can you please bring your favorite, like take a photo of your favorite food product? Because they were also like connected to that topic or something, like business students. I don't remember. So of the food product, so some food label. And then they all shared. Yeah. And the next class, she was asking, okay, guys, so can you please tell me like whose product is this, and like tell me like why you like it. And once again, like the like students, they have even like with different levels, so they would say like different, I would say the answers would be different. Yeah. um, and still you can like have some learning opportunities everywhere and everyone can benefit. Yeah, of course you should keep in mind, okay, maybe not to give like too advanced, but when like, or too beginner. Yeah, so you kind of, you see, you
Mhm.
evaluate. Yeah, so it's something like in the middle, but still you kind of give all this like look into this learning opportunities, right? And so basically what they did, so why they liked, they compared some. Yeah, so it was about comparative, superlative. Oh, and the labels, oh, interesting, they use some
Mhm.
interesting adjectives, adverbs, or like they're shorter than the usual sentence. Why is that? Let's talk about advertising. It took her 2 classes of like, oh my god, like very engaged, I would say,
Wow.
conversation with their learners. And it wasn't, but once again, we uncover, right, the language, and we can always reference with the course book. Okay, what we have uncovered here, does it match actually to the course book? Not of course one by one, right? But well, generally, oh, here we covered actually present simple, like if to like in terms of like the grammar or
Oh,
like
that's
whatever.
so interesting because this is
Mhm.
Hiram is disagreeing. We were talking about the what's the rush? And he
Right.
was saying there is a rush because there's a lot of topics to cover in a program, and in Hiram's case, 2 classes a week. So if you're saying then that, use the student's language, how do you know if the student's language is naturally going to cover all the topics in the book? Because presumably Hiram is saying they have to cover the topics through the school, and there's a short amount of time. If you go off sideways, what happens?
Right. So this, I come back to my previous point. You can use dogme to any extent, right? And you, as a teacher, you also, like, I would say, keep in mind, right, what should be covered as well, right?
Okay.
Because in my case, I work with students, and I just like, we talk, and it's more like freelance style. We talk about their goal, and we just, as we go, we see how we kind of reach those goals, and so on. And it's a little bit different. So I don't have the strict syllabus, but I mean, some teachers do. And of course, we can address that. I mean, within that strict syllabus or pretty flexible syllabus, you're aware of what you need actually to cover, and you do that. But within that, right, you still can like improvise and give some room, even within the topic, right? Like topics to cover, like these topics to cover in the program, right? Maybe something you will actually maybe like a little bit omit,
Well,
here
I
and
think
there.
you mentioned it earlier, Maria. You said, the one on like students were comparing some sentences and noticing things, and through that came some present simple, and through that might come some comparatives, for example, and you might they might want to talk about their families, and that is one of the topics.
Right.
So are you saying that it's not you directing everything, but using dogme might cover topics from different parts of the book,
Right.
not in the same order?
Yes.
Right.
Well, that's what happens, for example, in my case, because I have this freedom, I can do that. And of course, I follow completely the student. And this, as you said, like it's just like a rise, yes. But if you have a more rigid curriculum, right?
Yes. Like Huda is saying, how can this approach be used in state schools which have curriculum and exams? Yes.
Yeah, so exactly. Actually, I know even some teachers who are teaching in this style, but they're teaching for exams. But once again, they have flexible curriculum. They can do whatever they want. So there is the end goal, and here how we actually come there, right? But if it is strict, well, okay, then it is strict, and you just improvise within. Maybe you change the structure of, I don't know, like of this. How to say, of this for example, like there was like a lesson about emotions, right? Okay, you have this like strict, right? And you can bring a little bit like to spice it up, like about emotions. You can do like I did, can you please just share like your recent photo, right? And students like share like all the amazing photos, and we kind of talk about it a little bit like in the beginning, and then and how did you feel when you took this photo? And they share, right, some emotions, and here you go, and then you kind of move into, for example, your topic of emotions. I mean,
so you're saying it doesn't have to be the whole lesson. It can even be 5 minutes or 10 minutes of following the students and seeing how it feels.
Yes, getting some, maybe there is some opportunity for some emergent language. Just take it, like play with it a little bit, and then come back to whatever like the curriculum requests.
One question here. Have you got another few minutes? We're a bit over time, but so many people are so interested in this topic. Fernando's asking what hinders improvisation. So we've talked a little bit already around can you do this with a large group, or with beginner students, or with younger students? What are some of the barriers?
How much time do I have? So I'm like really quick.
Oh, just a few minutes.
Okay.
Brief.
Okay. So I took an improv class on Sunday, like real at the theater, just like to get ready, I would say, kind of to feel. And it was interesting. There was like one, so it was fun in some moments, but it was a particular challenge for me at some point because I started to overthink, you know? In improvisation, flow is important. So there is like yes and you're like flowing and nothing hinders that, right? So you kind of accept and you just move, move, move. And in my case, I started to like I found myself like in front of 20 people improvising about some topic, and you just like you start overthinking. Oh, I don't want to look foolish or this and that. So that was my hinder. I didn't want kind of to fail, to make a mistake. And that is what like so it's basically like a mental block that is the foundation of the language barrier, and that's what we need to address with students. That's what I work with them also, like to so they become comfortable with making mistakes. I create
Mhm.
this non-judgmental atmosphere where it flows. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's just like, okay, we make mistakes, it's fine, and we just like move on, right? And we learn from those mistakes, and it's like an opportunity. It's another perspective, mistake as an opportunity.
It's so fascinating, Maria. You're so inspiring. I'm like, okay, I'm going to throw
Thank you.
away everything. No. I think in summary, you're saying, try a little bit,
Yeah.
see how it goes, ask a what
Yeah.
if. What if I move away just for a little bit?
Yeah.
And try,
Mhm.
release, take a breath, take the space. How would you summarize your style? Or no, I'm going to rephrase that question. Sorry. Well, I'm going to rephrase it. For the teachers watching
Right.
who might want to try this, what would be a first starting point?
First starting point. Trust
In
yourself. Trust yourself. Trust your teaching. It's already enough. You're learning, but it's already enough. You can do it. And just be curious. Be
Mhm.
curious about your student. Not always it should be about personal life, of the student. That's another question,
Ah,
right? It can be, yeah, not always. I mean, you can like about the food labels. It's about personal opinion of the student, personal attitude
right.
of the
Yeah.
student, right? It's of course it's personal, right? But yeah, we can talk about their dog, or we can talk what do you think
Mhm.
about weather in Canada. There is no snow
Yes.
or something. I
Or
mean,
why do I
anything.
look Canadian?
Yeah, I mean, anything.
Brilliant. Maria, thank you so much. So, teachers watching, if you want to find out more, Maria has a book and also a course from, no, what's the course called?
From burnout to balance. So
Nice.
we basically talk all about everything that we talked today. That's basically the foundation of that. And I'm going to release it to run actually the second edition in February, at the end of February.
So
So
coming up quite soon.
yeah, and
Yeah.
limited spaces for sure. So
Limited
if
space.
you're
Sign
interested.
up now. The link is in the description. And also, if you're interested, let us know in the comments and we will send you the link when we moderate afterwards. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us.
Thank you.
And Maria, absolute pleasure to have you here again. And hopefully, we'll
Thank
see you
you.
again soon.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Bye
Yeah.
bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
everyone.
Thank you.